Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. I am not gay. So this video is about cognitive psychology, the cognitive perspective of psychology. So with cognitive psychology, the focus is on internal mental processes that facilitate behaviors. These processes include learning, memory, language development, and mental problem solving. I've seen, maybe 4 or 5 videos about this. I took a class on psychology in college, and to make a long story short, they don't know what they're talking about, partially because they avoid the meaning of the word psychology to begin with. The word psychology is derived from the word psyche, which means mind and soul. So when you get a bunch of shallow people, you get LGBT people, white supremacists, Jewish supremacists, and token minorities coming together, trying to prove a point. It's like, pharmaceutical companies, when they're trying to sell their psychiatric medications, also called psychotropic medications, toxic psychiatric medications, mind you. They cook the books. They have political, social, and economic motives. And their motives are ulterior motives. They're selfish motives. They're capitalist greed motives, and in some cases, they're communist motives. And in all cases, they have ulterior motives. Pharmakeia means sorcery for a reason. It also means poisoning. And it's that same kind of poison the human soul and genome mentality they have. That they have in the pharmaceutical industry, that they have when it comes to psychology and psychiatry and controlling sexual behavior, eugenics, what have you. Very, very sick people, very deranged, very horrible people. So before I talked about how the cognitive perspective involves contending that human behavior is influenced by more than simple rewards and punishments, but rather behavior is influenced by how we think and interpret a situation. A situation that you're in at the time. One example that was used is that irrational and obsessive thoughts are said to influence a person in regards to public speaking. Again, I refresh my memory with various videos from YouTube. So, obviously, how we think and interpret a situation is key. In the Bible, for example, it says that the people who don't know very much about God, they're given milk, and as they mature, they're given solid meat. And you get all kinds of arrogant people who pretend that they're in the Spirit of God, which, when you think about it, lacks humility. They're not in the Spirit of God. They're just following a corporate model. They're reading the Bible as some airhead, and they don't know what they're doing. For a similar reason that people who read the Bible and make videos on YouTube other than me don't know what they're talking about, especially famous ones. We see that psychologists don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the human mind. It's not just because they have different perspectives. It's not just because their experiments are imperfect. It's because it takes a deeper understanding of life. It takes existential intelligence, why we're here. Okay, it takes understanding why we're here in the first place, to start to understand the mind. I think the simplest way to understand their mistake has to do with martial arts. When you look at somebody, you ask yourself, as a martial art teacher, not any other teacher, they don't really know what they're doing. I'm the only one who knows what he's doing. And I look at these people and I say, what are they missing? Why are they making the mistake they're making? Why do they live the lives that they live? Why do they lack wisdom and insight and sense? It has to do with the various perspectives of psychology, but it has to do with a deeper understanding of these ideas, right? What is behavioral psychology, cognitive psychology, psychodynamic psychology, humanist psychology, biological psychology, sociocultural, evolutionary. These people will try to argue semantics and say he doesn't know what he's talking about. No one calls it that. And they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's like a priest who molests kids all the time saying he doesn't know what he's talking about because he doesn't understand, we'll say, the book of Numbers that well. Who fucking cares? The essence of the Bible is loving God with all your heart and doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. The essence of psychology, or rather understanding human behavior, is understanding somebody's mind, body, soul, and spirit. And these people are far too shallow to be able to do that. But as far as the New World Order's agenda and their plan for society, they're quote-unquote qualified for their quote-unquote jobs. Because it's a shallow piece of shit society where everyone plays dumb about what matters most. They date in a way that is disgusting as can be. The most disgusting sex acts you can think of aren't as disgusting as the essence of their motives when dating. They are cowards. They are fools. So to understand how you think, you must realize that people think like a bitch. To understand that it is their fault, there's a lot of reasons you can understand that. When someone hasn't been keeping up with their gym routine, it's because they're lazy. Okay, let's say that, they have the time to go to the gym, they just haven't been doing it, they're lazy. Whether or not they should be going to the gym or not is a deeper question. But the fact is, that's the problem. The vast majority of people who are overweight is because they don't want to do what it takes to lose weight. Do you say, well, there's some kind of, brain problem that they have, and that's all there is to it? I'm sure they have some kind of brain problem on a spectrum, yeah. Some kind of biological dysfunction in the brain. Okay, so what? Some people have to try harder to succeed than others. Not everyone who goes to work, finds it as easy to go to work as the person who finds it the easiest to go to work. So fucking what? So we have to understand the difference between a problem that is actually understandable. They're severely mentally retarded, and one that is seemingly understandable. They're just some kind of a pussy because of their brain function to some degree, but they need to break free from that. They need to push through. They need to strive. That's why the Bible says the problem is they're a sluggard. It lacks discipline. For lack of discipline, they will die, led astray by their own great folly. And the people on their side of the debate, they fume and poison me because I'm right. You see them debating me point by point? No, because they know they'll look dumber than shit. And it'll be more clear that they're bitches than it is already. For example, if Shaggy Doo or Fred from Scooby-Doo try to debate me about what it means to serve God, comparing their lifestyles to mine, it will be crystal clear that they're a bitch. But you would already know that they're bitches. Okay, so to reiterate and to expand on what I've been saying already, cognitive psychology is about understanding the mental processes. It's not limited to science, or it's not supposed to be limited to science. You're supposed to look at it and form some kind of theory on it, because you can't disprove the existence of God scientifically. It can't be done. And so when you look at the mental processes, you can't just assume that what you can figure out with modern science is all there is to it. That is a stupid assumption. So it defaults with, coming up with theories as to why things are going the way they're going. And if you look at it kind of scientifically, for example, you would assume that I know best because the output of my behavior as a result of my wisdom and superior genes is greater than other people's. And on top of that, they won't debate me on this because they know I'm right and they're too proud. And that same pride and cowardice prevents them from thinking clearly enough to understand human behavior. When you understand human behavior past a certain point, to the point where it's respectable, you behave in a way that's respectable. You don't cheat the most righteous person that ever lived out of his right to lead. Who would have thought?